Hello everybody, welcome to the Stutter Sage channel. My name is Sage, and the topic of this video is going to be probably spread out over 2 or 3 videos, maybe 4. And so I had an idea because I had an email from the National Stuttering Association about back to school, and considering that it's the season, I guess it will probably help. It'll help me to talk about my experience going back to school when I was in high school, and maybe some of you would relate or share the stories, or maybe my experience would help you during, with anyone that you may know. So I'm just gonna think out loud to the most, I guess, traumatic or most nervous years that I went back to school. And I think it was my sophomore or junior year in high school. And so I absolutely hated French class. It was a requirement. I had to take French. And I hated it because I would stutter more. I mean, even in high school, it would take me about a little under a minute to say my name. And it would take me so long to say oui. So when they take when the teacher would take attendance, you can't say present, present or here. No, you have to say oui, mademoiselle. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but you know what I mean. And oh my goodness, those 2 words were the death of me. It was very, very, very bad. And so I had already experienced that during my, I think, the year before. And so I failed French. And so I was taking it again. And this is, the first day of school. And so we had a new teacher. And I am glad we had a new teacher because she had this method where she gave all students name tags. She wrote them out and she just stuck them on the shirt because she said that she was very forgetful and she wanted to make sure she would remember names. And so when she announced that she was going to do that, I still remember it was the first day of school, and it was a French class, and I sat in there, and it was heavenly because she passed out papers and said, write your names on this paper and stick it to your shirts. So I did that, and instead of her having to call out names, she would walk past all the students and give a shot, take a shot at saying their names correctly. Now, I was in the Middle East. I was in Kuwait at the time. She wasn't French, actually. I think she was British, but we have foreign names to her, so it would take her a few times to get it right. My name was fairly easy, and so it was very easy because all she required from us in return was to say that we're correct in English. We didn't have to say oui, mademoiselle. We could just say oui, or we could say yes, or we could repeat the name to confirm that she said the name right. So when she came to me and she said Sage, I told her Sage, and that was perfect. And she just went past, and so that got all the tension, that got all the stress out of me. So as we were coming to a close of, because for a stutterer, sorry, I'm just thinking out loud, for a stutterer, I guess the first few words you say in class are the most important. Saying your name is the worst. So if you get past that and people know your name, you're kind of okay, I guess, a little bit, at least at the beginning. So that was fine. And French, lucky for me, French was the first class and the first day. And it was like the powers that be were making my life easier that year. So she told us to keep the name tags and to bring them for the next class, for the next time we're in class. I turned it into a joke, I guess, like making fun of myself that I forgot my name tag and I kept it on my shirt. And so I walked into the next class. I actually forgot what the class was. I remember the setting, but I don't remember the subject. Anyhow, we walked into the class, and that teacher, he was pretty much of a joker. And I acted like I forgot the name tag, and people started to tell me, hey, you forgot your name tag. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I forgot my name tag, but I didn't take it off. I kept it on so people would know my name. And then so what this teacher did, instead of taking attendance, he actually would go in order of rows and have the students say their names, first and last name. And so I was on the first row, and so when he pointed at me, I knew he was going to point at me, so I acted like I wasn't looking at him, like I was busy with something else. I forgot what it was, but I didn't make eye contact, and I knew that he was waiting for me to say my name, so I acted like I was busy and doing some other things. So then he called me out. He was like, Sage Al-Benali. And I'm like, yes, Sage Al-Benali. It was pretty easy. I'm sure as stutterers, it's pretty easy to follow up on a word when someone else says it. You don't really stutter in it that much. At least that's the case with me. And so he made a joke, something along the lines of, oh, it's good you have your name tag on because I was waiting. I'm like, oh, sorry, how stupid of me to have forgotten. And I kept that name tag on me throughout the whole day. That name tag was on. I turned it into a joke. People would laugh, not at me, with me. I would, it really, really, really worked. And so after the first day passed by very smoothly, I would make sure that I would have the name tag on any new classes throughout the week. And it just became my thing for that week to have a name tag. I just told people, I like it. I like to have my name on my shirt. And oh my God, that was the most stress-free first week of school that I could remember throughout my middle school and high school years, thanks to that name tag and thanks to that teacher who came up with that idea. That worked with me pretty well. So that's my experience of I think one of the most relaxed first weeks of school. One of the most stressful times was, I remember when I didn't have that idea. I think it was the year before. I think it was at 9th grade, and it was very hard. I would sometimes just ignore the teacher, act like I wasn't interested in what she was saying, and like I was some type of rebel, not wanting to say my name. I didn't know what to do when it was my turn to say my name. Now, if they weren't taking attendance and I didn't have to say present and they wanted us to say our names, or even worse, introduce ourselves by saying a little bit more, I don't even like to go back and remember those days. It was very difficult. But what I started to do, I guess, in some of the other classes, I would start with my last name. I made sure that I wasn't the joke, but I made sure I would make a joke out of what it was I'm saying. I wanted to make sure that people would laugh with me, because I didn't want the situation to be even worse. I didn't want to get bullied because I was stuttering, and let alone because I'm acting stupid. But for example, one of the times I was stuck and I knew that, my turn was going to come next, and I could feel the block on the name Sage. So it was my turn, and I said, Al-Benali. And then the teacher was like, and that your last name? I'm like, oh, Sage. When I was able to put that O at the beginning and say Sage. And that's when I understood that, wait a minute, if I would say something before my name, that would work. Like, oh, Sage, or yeah, Sage, or hey, I'm Sage. but it depended on the day. I would mix and choose. But thankfully, my last name was very easy for me to say. Maybe because it started with an A, I don't know, but it was Al Ben Ali. It would roll off my tongue. Whereas, for example, the S in Sage wouldn't go through. So I played around with my name. I really did. I would say things before I say my name. I would forget to say my first name and just say my last name. I would use the name tag. I would I don't know. I remember there were a few other things that I used to do, but I was trying to find what really clicked. And that name tag kind of clicked because I started to use it quite often. I even remember that a few times when we had substitute teachers, I would bring out a piece of paper, write my name down, and put it on my chest. That relieved me of the anxiety of saying my name. It didn't take care of anything else. It was, I think, during the end of the 11th grade and the 12th grade where I was beginning to fight off that stutter and become this covert stutter that I am now. But so I guess this is all I want to say about going back to school, and in the next videos I'm going to talk about other elements of having to deal with the stutter back at school. So thank you for watching. If you have any other tips or any other topics you want me to touch on, please feel free to mention those in the comments. Thank you for watching.